Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom, our good guest. We thank you for tuning in, which is our host today, Mr. Bradford Usher of Bradford Usher Speak. I am Dewan Boyd, but it's all about Bradford Usher today. So we turn it over to Bradford Usher after we say happy birthday to be turning 40, looking like he 20, y'all. Like, he ain't got no gray hair, he ain't got no ounce of fat. How much body fat you got?
Oh man,
like
probably about 12.
-2.
Probably about.
I mean, to be 40, the brother looks good. He keeps himself in shape. He eats good. But Bradford Usher Speaks his own.
Thank you for tuning in. This evening, I'll get right into it. This evening, we're going to talk about the spiritual awakening. What does it mean to be woke? What does it mean to be conscious? A lot of people use that term woke. What does it mean? You know, we have these discussions a lot. People had these discussions on Facebook. I've had these discussions with several people or debates with people on Facebook. But what I believe is really happening on the planet, I believe that the time that we're in, or the age that we're in now, is that there is a spiritual awakening that is happening on the planet. And I believe this is what this conscious movement is. You know, so you have many people that are becoming conscious,
right?
You know, and what is consciousness?
Right.
You know, and consciousness just means to be aware. So people's level of awareness is rising up, and I feel that the time period that we're living in now, the veil is very thin. So all this information is coming out. Everything is being poured out. So we're finding out a lot of things that were hidden from us for who knows how long, and it's now all coming to surface now. You know, so a lot of things, a lot of people are being exposed. Things can't be hidden, no longer hidden anymore. So,
and do you think that's because, as far as the information coming out, do you think that's because the fact that we now have a generation who does not accept what's being told or taught to them?
I think, yeah.
Well, when we came up because we're the same age, so in our generation, we were kind of like, whatever we were taught, we kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't really question it. We didn't really have the resources to question it. So we just had to take it. But this generation is coming up, and the people who are with this generation, they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I think what it is this is what I believe. It could be, the difference is, like, as us coming in, our generation, as we came in, we were it was pretty much like we were taught not to question anything.
Exactly.
You know, so
don't say something.
Yeah, you
don't say nothing.
You just roll with it. You just roll with it. Even if you're like, my dad taught me about God and everything, and I never would really like question it. I was just, whatever he told me, I just run with it. You know, and be like, okay, and take it as face value. And it's the same thing through school and everything, learning about our history. And, you know, they had us believing that we came from slaves, you know, and then now we're learning that our history is way deeper than, I mean, we are history. We are history. History is world history. That is our history. So it started with us. We the aboriginal beings of this planet. So it started with us, and these are the things. All this information is coming out. We're even learning. I mean, it's so much out there that's coming out. I've even found out that a lot of us were already here in the U.S., in America, in the Americas before. We were the original Native Americans. We were the original Native Americans. We were the original Chinese. We were the original Japanese. We were the original everything. Exactly. Because even in color scheme, you can't have it without black. You can't have no other color. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So all this information is what we're finding out, and so I'm learning, like, wow. So we didn't all come over here. No, sir. From slave ships. No, most of us were already here. Matter of fact, from what I've been researching lately, is I believe the slave trade actually happened in reverse. It happened in reverse. I believe it happened in reverse. The Native American slave trade is what we don't know about or talk about or is discussed in history. You know, so they took many of the Aboriginal Native Americans who were dark-skinned black people. They took them from here took them to Africa, and then when they came back here with the other Africans, they were reclassified as Africans.
Exactly.
You know, and we've been reclassified throughout history. You know, now I remember when I was a kid. Growing up, we were called Afro-Americans.
Afro-Americans.
You remember that? I was like, Afro-American, you know? Now we call African-American.
African-American.
You know, and I've never really liked that term, to be honest. That's why I've never called myself an African-American, because my thing is you can't, I believe you can't claim two continents. You can't say I'm African and American, because Africa is a continent. America is also a continent. And not, or you have North America, South America, and you also have Central America. So if you be like, well, I'm America, all of that is included. You're talking about South America, Mexico is is part of America.
Part of America. Right.
So we just from different nations within this continent. So what nation are you from?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So I don't like to use the term I'm African American. You're better off just saying you're an American.
Exactly.
But if you're a black person claiming to be an American, then they call you a coon.
I don't. But honestly, when I fill out job applications, I don't even check that.
I don't either. I don't check in.
They be like African American. I'll be like other.
Yep, I check other. I honestly do. I check other. Yeah.
I see their face when I show up. They were like,
yeah, they're like,
he check other.
Yeah.
Because with my name, my first name is like Mexican and my last name is Irish.
See, yeah.
So, what people don't understand with with the Irish, again, originally black, because the Irish were mixed in the slave trade as well.
Yep.
So that's how you got the mixtures and stuff going on.
Yep, exactly. So it's all these things we're learning about our history that's coming to the forefront. You know, so this term woke, as people like to call, I really don't care for the term too much, because like we were discussing before the show started, it's kind of like, if you now using that term is kind of like a joke.
Right.
You know, people don't take you serious if you try to use that term, the hashtag stay woke.
Right.
You know, so I really prefer to use conscious, you know. And it happened to me in 2014. I always grew up, I consider myself a Christian, you know, Baptist. Well, I was actually baptized, or christening Catholic, because my father was Catholic, and everybody on my father's side is Catholic. Most foreign people are Catholic.
Right.
I don't get that. I always wonder that. Like, why are those foreign people Catholic? You know, but
that's another discussion.
Yeah. So all of my father's side was mainly Catholic, and my mother was a little bit of both, Catholic or Baptist. So my mother was Baptist, my father was Catholic. You know, so that's how we grew up in the house. And we always would attend Baptist church, and then once a year we'd go to the Catholic church. With my father,
right?
So once a year we'd go to the Catholic church.
You had to divide it out.
It'd be for Easter we'd go
to the Baptist church.
Yeah, so I grew up in it, you know, and sometimes when things that I've learned over the past 4 years, because I believe this awakening happening like in 2012. I believe that's when it really started to make a movement, and it began to happen for people, or it happened on the planet. And I've even known a few people that would introduce me to information and stuff like that, and I would kind of be like, you know, kind of dismissive of it, you know. And but like I said, when I was going through my therapy with my shoulder, and I wasn't working, and I was at home, so I just had nothing but time on my hands, and I just started researching the information that, you know, a few of my friends would share with me, and then I would just compare and then do my own research, and it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that I was like, wow, that I never knew about or didn't have a clue. So I ditched the religion. I said, I'm not a Christian anymore. And I kept it a secret for a while, like from my friends, from my family, because automatically when you say that, like, well, I'm not a Christian, I don't consider myself a Christian or anything, people take that as like, well, what are you, atheist or something? You know, I mean, that's the first thing out their mouth. You must be atheist or something. I'm like, no. Are you agnostic? No, I don't even really consider myself that, because I believe in the Most High. Right. I believe there is a creator. So it's not that, I just don't believe in the traditional, the traditions of religion, for how we've been taught and grew up in it. Right. You know?
And the key thing, the key word that you're saying there is religion.
Yeah.
And the Most High never created a religion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So we built these walls and we built these structures called the church.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of people are enslaved still to this day through the church.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't like watch night. If people want to stay woke, they need to research why watch night was created.
Right.
Watch night was created by the slaves, so they would worship. They would have worship service every year at the same time. December 31st.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve. Right.
Yeah.
And they had that watch night service because they were watching and praying for the Emancipation Proclamation to be signed.
Right.
So here we are. It's already been signed, and we're still having these watch night services.
Yep.
So we're still stuck in tradition, religion, and enslaving the people through religion.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Not teaching them the truth.
Yep.
So a lot of people knew the truth. Then, you know, and I think it's out of fear that they don't want their people, quote unquote, conscious of the truth.
Yeah.
Because that would change a lot.
Exactly. That changes the game.
Because the landscape of church is getting ready to change completely.
Yeah.
It's because everybody's questioning everything that's going on, especially in the church.
Exactly. Yeah. You hit it on the nail. You hit it on the nail. And the thing is, too, when people realize that, they also realize, like, okay, that you're listening and interpreting what your pastor or these pastors are preaching, and when they're up there standing in the pulpit, and so you're no longer like, okay, you're not really preaching to empower me. You're more so preaching to my emotions.
Exactly.
You know, because one of the things that I did notice, like with some churches, is the first thing they get you doing is, when you're going to pray, you pretty much, they have people begging. The first thing you start saying is, you're not worthy. And I never understood that. I just tell my wife that. I said, I never understood why, I hear people say this in the church, you're not worthy, when they're praying or giving praise. I'm like, how could you say you're not worthy? How could you say, okay, I'm going to go to God and pray for him, pray to ask him for something, but then in the same breath, I'm going to say I'm not worthy of what I'm asking for.
Right. That
doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, well, how could you say you're not worthy of something where I believe that you are worthy of everything that you receive in life?
Right.
Whether you have a family, you have a spouse, children, a great job, it pays well, or you're doing what you love to do in life. Don't say you're not worthy of it, because you are. I don't care what your pastors are saying in the church when they tell y'all you're not worthy of stuff, because you are. Y'all are worthy of everything that you receive in life. So don't start your prayers with that. And I think a lot of times we just go along with the crowd because that's how they introduced the prayer. So then we started like that, Father, forgive me for my sins, and I know I'm not worthy. And you don't even know what you're saying about. You talking about forgive me of my sins. So
we got a question for Larry Jr. He said, do you think those prior generations had things that didn't resonate with them but were afraid to stand up and speak?
Prior generation as far as what? Us? Or
I think that question came about when we were talking about the generations that with you and I, where our parents would say basically whatever I say goes, don't question me.
Yeah. Well, our parents was a little more aggressive. Growing up.
My mama throw a skillet.
Our parents, you question your parents, you almost get popped in the lip. At least
by everybody in the house.
Yeah, you gonna get fat lip and questioning me, like, don't question me, because I said so. It's their response. So I think it was that fear of like, no, I'm not gonna even bother asking that, and they teach you that as well in school. And I think with this younger generation, I say what I love about this younger generation, because we give them a hard time a lot. And I understand why, because so many of them are like, I don't want to say lost, but are trying to find their way.
Trying to find who they are.
Yeah, trying to find.
So it goes back to the identity.
Exactly.
Who am I?
Yep.
I know what America is saying I am.
Right.
But deep down inside, I feel like I'm more than that.
Yes.
And I don't agree with your laws. I don't agree with your logic. I don't even like your school system.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that's why I think part of it is why they're so rebellious. Because I think that, and I've always noticed this, like, just growing up in life, I've noticed like each generation seems to be a step further than the previous generation.
Exactly.
Like even now when I look at my children and I'm like, I see my kids and I'm like, man, you're so smart, like you're so advanced than what I was even doing at that age. Like these kids are so aware and they're really conscious of things, and I call them, they're called star seeds. They're indigo children.
Yeah.
They're coming into this planet, and they already have this consciousness and this awareness about them. And I think what society or even the system tries to do is suppress that in them. So they want to question things. They want to ask why is that, or why, you know, and the system tries to suppress that. And I think this is where the challenging of authority comes from, and they're so rebellious because they feel like they're being suppressed. And what I love about them, they're very fearless, you know, and I love that about our youth. And I think they need to realize that, you know, because they can really channel that and be very powerful.
And that's what I always say, especially about this generation. I've always said this generation was the generation to dismantle everything the government has created, dismantle every lie. They are the warriors that were created for this generation to just expose the veil. And I think that scares America as a whole. Those that are in power, it scares them because they know that they're not scared. They're not scared of death. They're not. They'll die for what they believe in. They'll die for anything. They don't care.
They don't care.
Right. So, and I think that's why it's being set up now to where. Even so, you like 90s music, because you go back to the 90s music, it talked about what? It talked about being conscious. It talked about knowing who you are. It talked about hustling. It talked about getting your money. It basically fed your mind to do greater things.
Exactly.
Now it's been set up now to where this generation self-destructs. So where the music talked about hustling and getting money, now it's talking about doing drugs, show your booty.
Twerking.
Twerk.
Let me see you.
You get a little money if you twerk.
Let me see you twerk. And so I think, and to piggyback off that, I think that's part of the reason why they do that. They're doing that because they know what this generation is.
Confusing
them. They're trying to suppress that.
Confusing them.
Yeah, they're trying to suppress that. And it sort of kind of works, you know, with them because they're young.
Right.
And we are influenced by music. You know, music carries a vibration.
We are musical beings.
Exactly. We are.
We are vibrational beings.
We are.
And I've always said, and people laugh at me when I say this, but they don't understand like the logic behind it. I've always said we complain about the music the children are listening to, but nobody's challenging the beat that they're going to. When are you gonna create another beat? When are you gonna create another frequency for them to tap into? As long as that's the frequency, guess what? They're vibrational beings, so they're gonna go to that frequency.
And they're always gonna be in that
vein.
Frequency until someone's able to show them otherwise.
Because you see how hard they going for twerking, you see how hard they going for just doing challenges. They going hard for all the wrong stuff, right? So if that energy was challenged and focused, where it should be focused,
I think man, they're so powerful, and that's what I see in them. You know, I know we as adults sometimes can forget we were once young.
Exactly.
Too, you know, and we've done a lot of foolish things as well. The only difference is, I think, is we didn't have social media when we were younger.
Not at all.
If social media was around when I was in college, shit.
No internet.
You know,
what is the internet?
Yeah, so, you know, it was, you know, so I believe in them. But I think this what leads back to the people being more conscious, and I think that's part of the reason why people are walking away from the church, because the church is still stuck in older traditions and not evolving. I believe if the church evolved into this awakening,
right,
and some of these pastors know too. They know the truth.
They know it.
They know the truth. But you know, they gotta stay under that system. They want your money. They gotta have your money. They got bills to pay too. They gotta earn a living as well. You know, but I believe that the church is no longer empowering people, and that's why people are walking away, because they're finding out the truth of things, and they question their pastors. And
right.
You gotta keep it funky with them. If you can't keep it real with them, then they see right through that. Like you can't fake it no more with people. They see through it. They see through the BS. So and that goes for everyone. Like they see through the BS now, and
And that's why the millennials don't go to church.
Yeah,
because they don't fit
exactly
because of the system.
Yep.
The system never evolved to include them.
Exactly. Yep.
So you're still teaching the same old stuff. You're still preaching the same old stuff. But what about marketplace teaching? What about teaching me how to own my own business? Right. What about teaching me of who I really am inside? Yep. What about those particular teachings to empower the people? So even if you go back to Jesus, regardless of who he was talking to, he taught them of who they were and how to he talked to people on how to get not just salvation, but enhance their businesses. Yeah. We don't talk about that.
No, never.
We don't talk about that.
No, the only finances they talk about is your 10% that they need, so then God can cover it and keep it, and you can be blessed. You know what I'm saying? And they use that same sermon every year. I know y'all see it, where they take the fruits and they set it on the table, and then you have some of your people come up and they knock the fruits down. God needs 10 pieces of that fruit. Oh, wow.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it. Well, when I used to attend church, I've seen it. I've seen it several times.
I don't know. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've seen it several times during all time this month. It's coming up too. It's coming up February. So y'all gonna see it. Those of y'all that still
doing the tax season.
Yeah, tax season coming up. And you thinking that you getting over because you're like, I can write it off from my taxes and get a return. Y'all should know by now. You're only getting returned on taxes because you overpaid throughout the year. Doesn't mean that you're getting extra money.
And even on that note, and not to discourage anybody to continue to support their church.
Yeah.
You can't even file it on your taxes no more.
Oh, really? They done shut that down?
They stopped that.
Oh,
they stopped that.
What y'all gonna do now to give people the time? You gotta motivate people, man. Some people don't be want to get their money because they don't see the fruits of their labor.
I mean, I guess it's more so about, and me coming from pastoralship, I guess it's more so about the church being equipped to not live on tithes and offering alone.
Yeah.
The church putting itself in a position to own banks.
Right.
In a position to own schools.
Yes.
In a position to just own in the marketplace.
Yes.
So when all churches are predominantly our churches.
Yeah.
The quote unquote black church.
Yeah.
They're predominantly where? In the hood.
Yep.
So if you're in the hood and you're expecting people in the hood to tithe every Sunday, well, they ain't got it.
Yeah.
They ain't got it.
No.
So what are we going to do as the church to ensure that Mother Jones don't got to give her last $20 because of the sermon I preached?
Right.
And she ain't got no food in the refrigerator.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I've said this many times to myself, to other people, and I just don't see the trickle down effect. Like Indianapolis, for example, I've never seen so many churches in the city of Indianapolis. Like if you drive down 38th Street from east side of 38th Street all through, you will see two churches sometimes on the same block. And I've always wondered, when you look into the communities and you say, why does our community still seem so just stripped of resources? If you got all these churches in here and people are pouring into these churches financially, why can't some of them pull their sources together?
Right.
And try to do more I don't want to see a center that's attached to the church that's just for your members. How about a youth center for the actual community? Right. Let's do something bigger.
And I've always said that, and it's kind of unpopular when I say it, because I've always kind of thought differently.
Yeah.
And I've always said that if, I don't know what churches are doing, some may be doing it, I don't know, but I just look at the community as a whole.
Yeah. And
the condition of the community. I look at that. The community was never supposed to depend on the government to take care of it. The shutdown should let us know that. It should let us know that. So we are the church. It's the church responsibility to take care of its community. Right. That's the responsibility. So I've always said the fact that if we have all these churches in these communities, if they just gave back 10% to the community, and you got all these large mega churches in our city. Shout out to Jeffrey Johnson because he's doing it. I mean, so there are some pastors out there doing it.
Yeah.
But if all of them did it,
right?
Imagine the change that would happen in the community.
Church, yeah.
I mean, your church should look better than your community.
Nah, it shouldn't. Nah, it shouldn't.
I'm just saying.
I just feel like they can. I'm not saying that the church can save, our people or whatever, but I really think it can do a little bit more as far as pouring into the community, not just focusing on getting many members to the church and trying to save lives. That's individually. I'm talking about economically as a whole.
Corporately.
Corporately, what can you do for our people? And I think these churches, and that not just Indianapolis, everywhere, can really start joining together and pulling your sources together, pulling your money together, and saying like, okay, let's X amount of money, let's pull this together, and we try to start this business, or we buy up these buildings and we lease them out to black people that want to be entrepreneurs, that's looking to start their own business, and maybe we help come up with some a formula to help finance them to start their business, and whatever, what I'm saying, something like that. And then maybe y'all have a piece of it, and then you come up with another formula to help buy you out, basically. So then I don't know, something, you know what I'm saying, that's an idea. It's not, anybody can take that, and that's for anybody to take and run with. I'm not trying to, pioneer that. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Y'all can take that to your pastor, whoever, but that's, that's how the church is. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people, too, millennials especially, have been walking away from the church. So I think the church just needs to evolve and just start telling the truth. Don't hide it anymore. You really can't hide the truth anymore. In this day and age of information, ignorance is an absolute choice.
It's choice.
Because you can find out a lot of this stuff that they're trying to hide from us.
Right.
So it's a lot of stuff that people want to claim that they're woke. Yeah. I mean, some people throw that out there because they get a little information and then they like, I'm woke, stuff like that. And a lot of times they just learn some history, that prior to us, our enslavement. And a lot of times too, we get caught up in Africa a lot too, and it's understandable because that's the homeland, that's the motherland. I mean, even I was like that in the beginning. I got caught up in Africa a lot, just stuck in the whole knowledge of Africa, just soaked it in, know. And as I evolved and stepped out of Africa, and learned about other things and other nations and civilizations, it just expanded, my level of consciousness, and I wasn't so caught up in, black, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it's just I just love learning about it, and I use that throw chakra. So y'all see me on Facebook. I throw knowledge out there. I kick knowledge for y'all. I probably only talk about not even 50% of what I know on Facebook, because I don't want to offend people. I don't want people to
start a fire.
Yeah, people start calling me crazy
because what that knowledge and truth makes people uncomfortable.
It does,
and it automatically makes them defensive.
Yes,
because now they've taken offense.
Yes, to
what now is being exposed as the truth, and that's not what they grew up with.
Yep. Exactly.
So I don't want to embrace that.
Yeah.
I don't want to embrace that. So kind of like the whole Christmas thing.
Yeah.
You talk about that, the real meaning behind Christmas, but some people are like,
yeah.
Bro, you too deep. just let me enjoy Christmas.
Exactly. Just let me enjoy.
So, even the whole Thanksgiving thing. I'm like, I told my mama, I was like, so I was like, I ain't celebrating Thanksgiving. She said, why? I said, why am I going to celebrate a holiday where people were invited in to have dinner and they killed them and celebrate the next day?
Yep. Chop their heads off.
That's what it was about, right?
Chop their heads off.
So, I don't know. So
that was our ancestors, people, just so y'all know.
Yeah.
So don't think we're separated. We're separate from that genocide, that happened in our history. That's a part of our history. That's
part of our history.
That's our ancestors that were slaughtered that that they now call Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
It was a Pequot Nation.
Yes, sir.
Look up the Pequot Nation. It was like 500 of them, women, children. Set them all up, you know.
Yep.
And they been going to war with them because it was all over land. It has
always been
about land and resources.
Yep.
Nothing else, because a lot of these places that were colonized around the planet are rich in resources.
Yep.
You know, and natural resources that come from the planet. So we fought for our land.
Yeah.
And when they did that story that they told us about, oh yeah, the Pilgrims came over here and then they had this big huge dinner and they called it Thanksgiving. Yeah, they had a dinner all right. They was feasting on our people.
Right.
You know, after they chopped their heads off, you know, and they had a big feast.
Yeah.
And that's what they call it, Thanksgiving. And so we celebrate that unbeknownst to us, not knowing that we're actually celebrating a ritual of the slaughtering of our ancestors when we, you know, digest all the turkey and, you know, the stuffing of the turkey comes from the Turkish Moors. When they killed off the Turkish Moors, they cut them up too and stuffed them like turkeys.
Yep.
And that's where that whole terminology of stuffing of the turkey comes from. A lot of our holidays, you want to get into the, you know, all the holidays have to do with the slaughtering of our ancestors.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you go St. Patrick's Day, it was the Twa people. That was our ancestors. They killed them because of all the knowledge that they had, and they demonized them by, remember the what they call it, the what was it? The lady that had the hair like snakes.
Yeah, I think,
Medusa, whatever.
Medusa, yeah, Medusa.
And there's no such thing as a Medusa that had snakes in her hair. That was dreads. Locks.
Right.
And they called them snakes. They called them druids. Back then the Europeans did. So they killed them off because of the vast knowledge that they had, and it scared them, it terrified them.
Yep.
So they killed them off. They went into the temples, took the scribes, the scrolls, or whatever, and they destroyed all that information. So therefore, it's lost, and we never know about it. You know, it's another holiday. We said Christmas, Thanksgiving, even New Year's. Well, Christmas is two things. It's Santa. I can't pronounce it. It starts with an S. But it's like they said the Europeans used to dress up, they cut down the trees, dress them up with Christmas ornaments, and they have like this homosexual ritual for like 7 days or something like that. I forgot what it's called. It started with an S. And then there was also the slaughtering of the original saints, which were called the Christ beings, and this is where Christmas comes in because it was Christ massacre. So they massacred the Christ beings, which was again our ancestors, and that's how you came up with the name Christmas. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for celebrating these traditions or anything, because it's a lot of information that we didn't even know about, and so. You know, my wife still likes to celebrate Christmas, puts up the trees,
sure she does.
gets excited about it, and I'm kind of just like,
can't take
whatever,
it away.
you know, fine, you know, I'll participate, you know, and I try not to, as well as Facebook. I did good this year. I didn't really rain on nobody's parade for Christmas. Usually I do, you know, but I usually try to throw some information out there that people don't know about, some like real history behind holidays. But I don't like to go too deep into the holiday traditions because I know how we like our traditions.
Yeah.
We want to, you know, a lot of times for black folks, we just like to get together and eat. It's really not about, you know, the history of it or the origin of things. We just like to use it as an excuse to get together and eat.
Right.
You know, so
Bradford, what is consciousness to you?
To me, I believe consciousness, like I said, is raising your level of awareness. Not only that, especially spiritually, not just mentally, but spiritually as well. Like, you know, for me, it was going inside myself and not so much going outside of myself and looking for something outside of myself to fulfill me inside. And so I learned that it was actually the opposite, going inside myself, which is fulfilling inside of me, you know. So consciousness on the spiritual level is what would she say? We talk about the pineal gland, the third eye, the eye of Horus, as they call all these different names for it, and your first eye is what they call it. And when that eye ignites or enlightens, because what happens is, like, this is how it's explained. Enlightenment is explained what happens to you physically, but it's a quick, like, jump, like turn on a light switch. So it's not like a slow process that you feel happen. It's real quick, like an electric shock. So you have this liquid that they call melatonin, and this energy that spirals up through your spine. So and it's two of them that coils like this, and it spirals all the way up through your spine, all the way up to your crown chakra, which is your pineal gland. So once that liquid comes or ignites, or I guess it hits the pituitary gland into the pineal gland, and then the pineal gland rattles, which then it also lights up. And so they also say that in the dark, it's actually glowing. Like if you're tapped into your pineal gland, it actually glows at night, and that's why they say you're enlightened, or you have your light is now shining. So when that energy hits you, it hits in, and you become enlightened, you're now considered tapped into your higher self, your higher consciousness. So now we have our lower self, higher self, or if I put it in like religious terms, your godly self and your sinful self. So with your consciousness, or when your pineal gland becomes awakened, you're now tapped into that God self of you. You're no longer, you still tapped into both, but now you're able to bring them. The key is to bring them into a balance. Yeah, you bring them together and you balance that, because that your sin is your lower self is a part of you, and then but you want to live in your higher self, you know, your godly self. You want to do things that are godly. You want to do things that are righteous, you know. So, and that's how you want to live your life. And so that's kind of what consciousness is, you know, for me. If that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Tried to call out LeBron, but he ain't answered me. So
yeah. And I believe that's and I believe, to sum it up, I think this is what the spiritual awakening is. Like, people don't believe really in astrology. I've researched astrology, and some people there's this perception about astrology as it's witchcraft, or it's satanic or evil, demonic, or whatever. The thing about things, I say the term witchcraft. What witchcraft really is, it's like, or like voodoo, it's duality. So duality is positive, negative, opposites, you know what I'm saying, that come together. So you can have something and use it for good, or you can use it for evil. So I can give you this power. There's always
a flip side.
Right. I can give you this power and say, all right, I harness this and I give you this. Now you can do what you will with it. You can either do good with this power, or you can do evil with this power. Regardless, the effect is going to be the same. But you're either going to do good with it, or you're going to do evil with it. And that's kind of what witchcraft is, or voodoo is, because, you know, where my beliefs, you know, it's heavy in that, you know, Haiti, all those that part of the Caribbean or whatever is very heavy. Louisiana is very heavy, so I understand it. I learned about it. My mother has told me shared a few stories with me about voodoo. I had a friend I got one of my best friends. His grandfather's a voodoo priest. He's from Haiti. His grandfather's a voodoo priest. So we've shared things, and I haven't messed with voodoo, just to let y'all know, but I know a lot about voodoo to say that it's not like the witchcraft is not evil per se, but what I can do is, like, I can take medicines and I can say, well, I can heal you with this, or I can harm you with it. So that's kind of how it works. And when it comes with astrology, what I tell people is, well, people say, well, you know, it's witchcraft, but you were born in certain signs, and within the constellations or astrological, whatever, you have your astrological signs, which makes up your basic characteristics of your personality. For example, my wife's a Capricorn. For people who are Capricorns, or the characteristic of Capricorn likes things in order, likes things to be smooth, nothing to get out of place. So when that sun comes into Capricorn, everything is already in order for Capricorn, coming out of Sagittarius. So people who are Capricorns tend to be very organizational. They don't like when things come out of place. You know, if plans change, that's a problem for them. They can't handle that. It gives them anxiety. Like my wife, she gets anxiety.
You got to party tomorrow.
See, we discussed this though. She gets anxiety if like that part, if something don't go right with the plan of that part,
right, it's a problem.
It's gonna be a serious problem.
She gonna go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Real quick. It's like even or people who Sagittarius is a fire sign. So Sagittarius, people who are Sagittarius can sometimes be aggressive, sometimes can be. Sagittarius make great entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Most people I know who are Sagittarius are entrepreneurs because they're very strong-willed. They like to be, how should I say, not in charge, but they can be. Yeah, they can be.
I'm a Sag.
Yeah, I know. And trust me, I'm sure my brother's a Sagittarius, so you know what I'm saying. And y'all alike. I got another one.
Y'all alike.
Yeah, one of my close frat brothers. The thing about Sagittarius is they're opposites though. You have Sagittarius that's real calm and chill, and you have some that's fiery. You know, to the point they be on this stuff, and a lot of times Sagittarius in general are whatever they do in life, they're going to be successful because it's in them to just make things happen. Just make it happen, and they're going to make it happen regardless. They're not going to be fearful about it.
Yeah.
My sign, Aquarius, which is a air sign, and Aquarius, of course, represents the water being poured, the water barrier. But Aquarius is a humanitarian. Yeah. People who are Aquarius tend to be more humanitarian. They tend to be very passionate about things. I'm like that. I'm passionate about things. You are. Sometimes we tend to be know-it-alls, as well as sometimes if we are trying to teach something to somebody, we don't have time to wait for you to try to keep up. Yeah, like you just need to keep up. And sometimes, so we have to be aware of that. And we have great ideas. Yeah. And we're also, which makes us procrastinators. So these things I've learned, and I'm like, wow, these are all the characteristics that I shared. Yeah. And some of us are both. Like we're really all the signs of the zodiac, but our dominant signs are the ones that we were born in. And this is why I always want to say they, but this is why they record your name, the time you were born, the date you were born in the hospital, because they need to know who's who coming in on the planet.
I mean, even if you go back, and this is why I question a lot of stuff, even if you go back and just really even study the story of Jesus in the manger, the 3 wise men found him by looking for what? The star, right? Which is what? Astrology, direction, stuff like that, right? And when they came to him, they offered him gifts. But what we don't talk about, it's going to make a lot of people mad. But what we don't, I mean, it's the truth though. What we don't talk about is that they brought him gifts. And if you really research the 3 wise men, they were witches. Yeah. They were witches. I mean, like, you really research that. They were witches. So, and each one of us have a star. We all have a star. And that's why if you even read the Bible, it talks about the star fell from heaven when Satan fell. The star. Everybody has a star. So if we all understood our star, we kind of would understand ourselves. But again, we don't teach it. Right. So, but
oh, they teach you to fear it, so you stay away from it.
Yeah.
They demonize it, and then you stay away from it. So, because I mean, I was told that about astrology. Growing up, that stuff, that's demonic, man. You don't mess with that. I'm like, astrology? I'm like learning about the stars, constellations, that stuff you talking about, But just do research and a lot of reading, man, and studying, man. It's very fascinating how that stuff relates to us, individually. And even they talk about the constellations like in the universe, like how the sun passes through the time period, you know, the 26,000 year time period through the entire zodiac, you know, and we leave in, what was we in, the different ages that we were in. So we were in, before Pisces, there was Aries.
Right.
So during that time of Aries, the characteristic of Aries is very aggressive. People who are Aries tend to be, my mother's an Aries. Sorry, you know, and during that time period, there was a lot of battles, a lot of wars fought during that period of Aries. And then when you move into Pisces, and that was the period of Jesus, and the two fishes represented duality, because it was either believe or don't believe, believe or don't believe. You know, oh, you must believe. Well, I don't know. And then so now this is where it goes back full circle, Aquarius, when now the sun is moving now from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And the age of Aquarius is the water bearer, which represents water being poured on to the people, which comes in form of knowledge or information. So now we go from, you know, questioning to now we know. You know, so this is part of the spiritual awakening that's happening, I believe, on the planet, is that it's the Aquarian age where people now are waking up to the truth, and we're now knowing, and we're now walking in our truth, and we're no longer questioning like, well, does God exist? Is there a God? We now know, you know, and we're walking into that, and we're waking up into that. And I think this is a time period where people shouldn't, who don't understand it, try not to keep yourself, don't be so closed-minded to things, you know, be more open-minded, you know, especially if people got different beliefs. Don't be so closed-minded that you think that your religion is solely right, because you don't know. You know, you can say, well, the Bible says. Well, you still don't know, because that book still was written by man, and they done rewrote so many versions that how do you even know anymore? You know, so I just think people need to be more open, and more people are going to wake up as time, as we, you know, move through the years. More and more people are going to wake up. This is not, I don't think this is some phase that's happening. This is not just some, you know, everybody's just jumping on some type of wagon. There are people that are really waking up onto this planet, and I believe, for example, for so many years, and I even say this, for the last 6,000 years, this beast has ran this planet, and it's been all about man, masculine energy. And now I believe what's happening is, with this awakening, it's the return of the feminine energy, which is now bringing that balance back to the planet. So I believe this is a good thing. I believe they know this is happening, and this is so many years. So why, for so many years, they've tried to hide this from us, and it's always been right in our faces. We just never knew. And so, with that being said, I think the daytime is up, and with people waking up, this new age that we're moving into, this new form of spirituality, is what is going to save humanity, take down this beast, this devil, defeat Satan, whatever you want to call it. I believe that's what's going to happen.
And Mr. LaRon said he's too woke for this conversation. What'd you say?
I'm just absorbed.
He said, I'm too woke for this
Yeah. But I run into, especially nowadays, I notice I run into more people that doesn't really, more so that, you know, claim to be a religion, or they be like, oh, I'm not so religious, I'm more spiritual now. I don't, you know, just identify myself with just saying I'm a Christian, I mean,
because again, we're not religious beings, we are spiritual beings.
Exactly, yep. You're exactly right.
Our body is a body, but there's a spirit that resides in our body.
Yep. This is just
that without that spirit, your temple is actually nothing.
Yep.
It's about dead as his table.
Yep.
So there's a spirit inside of you, and if there's a spirit inside of you, when will you get to know that spirit and leave the religion?
Yep. And the spirit is waking up. I mean, everybody, that spirit is, your soul wants to wake up.
Yeah.
But it's up to you, because some people I notice, man, they fight it too. Like, I see it in them. I'm be like, it's down in there, but you're fighting it so hard. I get it. I fought it for a long time. I fought it because I was just like, no, man, like no, this can't be happening. Like this ain't, this is changing everything that I've been taught, that I believe in this, and it's really okay to go down them hallways. You just you go come out different. You go come out different, but it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a difficult walk. Right. The journey you only can do by yourself. Nobody can really go on it with you, but you will come out, you should come out better. Most people do, so yeah, man, I do. I see it happening. More and more people will wake up. Some won't. Not everybody will, but the ones that are, those of y'all that's kind of on the fence about it, just let go. You pray about it. I did. I prayed for more knowledge. I prayed for more wisdom, more insight, and I got it. So this is the path that it's led me to. So pray on it, meditate on it, and trust your instincts. Your instincts is your soul. Your instincts is how God talks to you. God speaks to you through your subconscious. So listen to that. Listen to that inner voice. It all comes from inside people. It's not an outer voice coming, and then think about when you just sitting there in silence and you talking to yourself. You can hear your voice. You can literally hear yourself. Yeah. Talk to yourself inside your head without even without even saying anything. That's your soul. You can, if you don't believe, you just sit there silent and yell. And you can hear yourself yelling inside. So that's your soul inside. So I want people to really grasp that concept and don't be so boxed in, man. It's okay, and don't care what people think.
And I have another question I think is important. I don't know if you can answer it, but I'm gonna ask the question.
Oh, no.
Because this particular group has emerged as extremely woke or conscious. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the group of the Hebrew Israelites?
Yes, the Hebrew Israelites. I have a couple of friends who are Hebrew Israelites. I can separate. There's two different groups, really. Them guys that stand on the street corner with the mics,
exactly.
Yelling,
them the ones I'm talking about.
Them the ones I don't agree with none of their doctrine. Yeah, really, and they lightweight racists, to be honest. If you run into some real Hebrew Israelites, they don't agree with anything that them guys be talking about. I don't know what their interpretation be of the Bible or where they get a lot of their information, but it's been times where I've been even tempted to debate them.
I want to see that. So when you decide to do that, I catch a plane ticket.
I've been tempted because they'll be downtown sometime. But if you catch them, I'll be dropped, but I'll be with my clients or something. Yeah. I'm like, man, one of these days, man, I might catch you. I might catch you on a good day.
You got to call and say, hey, today is the day.
And I'm gonna go live on Facebook, down here, downtown. You gotta
call me, man, and say today is the day I'm going downtown. Because I know there's two separate ones, but this particular group is overpowering.
Yeah, it seems like it, but I don't think they are. Yeah, it just seems like it because they're loud. Yeah, they make a lot of noise. Them the ones they're like the foot soldiers. You know what I'm saying? They woke, but they don't really they the soldiers, so they really don't know. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because they just in warrior mode. Right. But they preaching a lot of I don't agree with a lot of what they say, but if you run into some real Hebrews and then you'll see, you'll be like, I can accept that more than what these guys be talking about on the corner. I don't know how them people get sucked. They they're brainwashed. Yeah. In a sense, they're brainwashed. Because if you sit down with some real Hebrews, they'll kick some real knowledge to you and you'll be like, okay, yeah, and I can agree with that. Yeah. I can agree with. That I understand. But them guys in the corner, I'll be like, what? What? And they just be badgering people with their rhetoric, they kind of similar to some of the hoteps.
Yeah. Oh.
That's real hardcore. RBG What is it, did I say it right? Yeah, RBG movement. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? They all about black power, da-da-da. And they kick good knowledge, but they kind of like the Hebrews with their rhetoric, and they like to belittle people. And, you know, and sometimes when people first become woke or conscious, they can easily fall into that lane.
Right.
And then now you're out there like that. Yeah, black power. You throwing the fist up. You ready to march. You ready to protest. You ready to take down white supremacy with an iron fist. You know, and that's really not the keys to it. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's not how we gonna do it. But yeah, so it's the same kind of with the, and I get caught in that too because people label me like, oh, you wanted like them hoteps that be yelling. I'm like, don't put me in that lane. You know, don't put me in that category. I'm not like them. I'm way more evolved and open to things than what they are. Like they want them people like that. Like they done threw their Bibles away. Like they don't even look at it like they like the Bible. What are you talking about? I don't read that garbage, you know. And the Bible is still, you still should read your Bible. You still should hold on to your Bible. There's still scriptures in there that apply to your life. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a book of just you know, evil or whatever. Some people may look at it like that, but yeah. So yeah, is there any other questions out there? I don't know.
No.
Are we over time? For
this man said you got 4 minutes. Look, Brad. Bro, man, from the 5th floor.
yeah. So, yeah, that's it though. Yeah, you got the same with the conscious community too, and you have a lot of brothers within the so-called conscious community that take advantage of the people too. You know, they want to sell you the information,
right?
You know, make money off of the information, and you get that with people who are, I call them intellectually lazy because they don't want to do the research themselves. Right. So they rather just somebody tell it to them, teach it to them. You know, you can find this stuff out yourself. Right. Google is your friend, people. You know, I was telling people, start with Google. Right. Don't let these people discourage you. People who are intellectually lazy discourage people from research. They'll say, oh, would you Google that? Or would you get that from the internet?
Right.
YouTube? Like, well, yeah, I mean, not everything that's on the internet is a lie. Not everything that's on YouTube is a lie. Right. I mean, you can watch a lecture on Dr. Sebi. It's like sitting in the class. You just watching it on YouTube. That's the only difference. So, you know, it's you gotta. For me, I have the gift of discernment. So that's always been able to lead me to being able to decipher good information from bad information, things that resonate with me from things that I'm like, and you got to be able to do that. So if you have it's like a puzzle, and you're trying to just scatter and you're just trying to fit the right pieces together. Okay.
All right, well, that's our show for the day. We thank Mr. Bradford Usher for another empowering, awakening, conscious. Bradford Usher Speaks. Like, share this video, like the JHM app, like us on Facebook. Our highlight, spotlight of the week this week is going to be DeMarco DP Plays. Has another show coming up February 23rd. Her Lies, His Secrets. Go get your tickets. It's going to be at the University of Indianapolis Auditorium. He will be back on the show 2 Fridays from now. Again, have a good weekend. Be safe. It's supposed to snow, and we'll see you again next Friday.